I was curious, like, you're fresh off a Charleston fly victory.
Oh yeah,
That's kind of cool.
it was fun. Yeah, me and Nick just had a good time.
What's supposed to be fun?
Yeah.
Do you think so? Like, when you're fishing a tournament, is your mentality different from when you're out guiding? Do you have a different way of thinking about it? I mean, I know you just said like you were out having fun, and that's like, that's great that you're able to stay loose like that.
Yeah.
But
I think it was definitely running around, running and gunning, and less like sticking and waiting it out, like the guarantees and then the non-guarantees of like knowing a fish is going to be there and being in that like 30-minute window of if there's going to be a big fish coming through there or not. That's kind of what we were thinking of most, in that tournament, and not just holding the one spot, but running a good bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so typically you're not necessarily like bopping around as much. You're more so like trying to work a spot thoroughly and like orient. Like, it is the thinking that like, do you think clients appreciate staying in a spot for a certain amount of time and like taking stuff in? Is part of that like the experience, or is this more so like the fishing strategy where you want to be moving?
I would say like it's more about big fish. So if if I'm looking for a big fish, I'm not going to be sitting on a flat, for X amount of time. Even during the tournament, we're looking at smaller fish. We're not casting at them. We're looking for big fish and where we know big fish are at, and they're either going to be there or they're not.
Yeah.
And if you know that spot well, and if you've spent your time there, if they're going to be there or not. And if they're not there during that window, you go and you move to the next place that has the window.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm being vague or not, but it's like,
be as specific or as vague as you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you put together a winning strategy, and it's have you been doing a lot of, like, when was the first tournament you ever fished? Have you been doing a bunch of tournaments?
I honestly, in my opinion, never really even liked tournament fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a redfish tournament. It's a Charleston fly. It's more of, do you go out and have fun?
Yeah.
I think that Nick and I, we just wanted to go out and win it once, and just for fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and you're kind of a hometown guy. Like, you grew up here, and I guess, like, what are some of the biggest things you think have changed about fishing around here since you first started? And you got into it like very young age. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started fishing, like, my dad and I would go out with, some people on Edisto and drive the Bronco out on the beach and catch fish all out there when that was still a beach. And at a very young age, I was introduced to redfish and, flats fishing. My dad did it when he was, younger and growing up. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing that's changed around here is definitely like pressure.
Yeah.
A lot more guides, a lot more people fishing, and it's not necessarily terrible, but it's the way you go about it and the way that you're doing it. These fish need a break. Redfish need a break. This is a redfish heavy place, so it's like it can only take so much.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I know probably balancing this. I mean, we were talking before, like balancing this with, you're still finishing up school now.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably a lot of pressure on you. Are you excited about the prospect of not having to deal with that anymore?
Yeah. I mean, being able to like put my full effort into my business and what I'm doing, and doing hosted trips, and I still do some things in Alaska. Being able to just completely focus on that and not have to worry about school and going back to school every single night after running a 6-hour trip, 7-hour trip.
Yeah.
And having the stress of grabbing the boat, getting to the place, going to my spots, running that whole day, getting back to my house, cleaning my boat, and still making it back to school on time. It's like, dude, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And that stress being gone this year is definitely going to be like probably the most. I mean, that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to right now is just being done with that part.
Yeah. When we were talking a little bit about when you were like, you said you were 17, you moved down to the Keys to go
Yeah.
just dive into fishing. Was that kind of where the whole fishing travel kind of kicked off for you? Is that young?
Yeah, I moved out my house when I was 17. I was fishing at the time, was guiding here, and then I left for Alaska, came back, and went to the Keys. I was 18 when I went to the Keys, and then worked in a fly shop down there with some friends, and helped. You know, it was startup at the time. There's a lot of cool people. A lot of had the pleasure of making some of my best friends there. And then moved back here, and I definitely missed this place, you know?
Yeah.
The greenery and the oak trees, the marsh, it's definitely a part of me.
Yeah.
And I kept fishing and doing me.
Did you bring a boat down there?
No, I didn't. You know what? I brought a small little like Ginu style boat at the time and ended up selling it when I moved down here. Because I just had it and I couldn't sell it while I was here.
Did you have access to skiffs down there?
Yeah, I fished with a lot of guides, who later on became some of my good friends.
Yeah.
So.
Working in a shop there, what kind of context, like that must have been like a really good inroad to the community and like understanding the fishery in the community. Yeah, because you just have so many people coming in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when I moved to the Keys, I definitely didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was definitely like in the headspace of a kid who wanted to be something in the industry, and I looked up to a lot of people, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I was like Instagram heavy, or like I was like social media is the way, and I got to do this and that, and it's like just not the way it is.
Yeah.
And what I realized was actually kind of like the opposite of what I needed to do. And thank God for the people who I worked with down there who like steered me in the right direction of like understanding the industry and meeting the right people and taking the right route when it came to the, ethical boundaries of fly fishing. It was like definitely an important piece of my journey.
Yeah. Did you go from there to Alaska, or did you come back here? When did Alaska come into the picture?
Alaska came in the picture through one of my good buddies who I also went to the Keys with. And he had guided down there, hooked me up. I went there to actually film for the lodge.
Okay.
For Dave,
Yeah.
Dave's awesome. He's like
Sultry Lake?
Yeah, Sultry Lake Lodge. Dave and Alana, they're like the best people ever.
Yeah.
And I went to go film there and we ended up doing a good amount of work, like working on the UTV. I had some background in mechanics. I grew up racing dirt bikes, so I knew how to turn a wrench, and ended up helping them fix one of their UTVs. And Dave was like, dude, you need to come up here and fish and be a guide. I was like, I'd love to. I just don't know anything about the fishery. And he was like, well, it's salmon, dude. You can come up and you can throw anything in there and they're gonna eat. But
Trout too, or
what? Trout
too?
Yeah, there's some big trout.
Yeah.
They got kind of a sleeper steelhead fishery there. And yeah, the biggest coho silvers that I've had the pleasure of seeing, like they get big silvers.
Yeah.
I think that's Salter's biggest attraction is like their silver fishery is so sick.
Yeah. How many years have you been going back there consistently?
This next year I think would technically be my 6th year.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every summer.
Yeah, every summer. And when I'm out of school, I'll be able to go up there for all of silver season, and that's kind of when I want to be there.
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Did you at some point you were, I guess, more kind of like helping out on the property, and now it's more of like a guiding position that you do up there?
The first year I went up there to film. The second year I went up there and I ran under 2 other guides and kind of shadowed them.
Yeah.
I mean, it is salmon fishery. When it comes to learning that fishery, you're literally learning trails, where to find fish. Don't
Don't get eaten by a bear.
Yeah, don't get eaten by a bear. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's a fly-in lodge. There's not a lot of pressure out there. And the fish they're happy as they could be.
Yeah.
So.
And you're going to be hosting a trip out there.
Yeah.
This coming May.
Mm-hmm. No, well, not to Alaska.
Sorry, not May is. You have 2 trips coming up. You're going to be doing a trip to Punta Allen Fishing Club in May, 15 to 18. No.
The May trip is 8th through I think the 14th.
Okay, 8th through 14, and then Alaska is
September 20th through 27th.
Okay, cool. And that's that Alaska one. That's a similar window to when you typically have gone there.
For sure. Yeah. So the September time is when the silvers are heavy. That's just a beautiful time to be. You get the changing colors of Alaska. You get to see that change literally happen. Lots of bears that are really friendly. They're not, it's Alaska. They're not worried about you. They just want to eat salmon.
Yeah, they got fish on the brain.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to about bringing people up there?
Oh man, just I guess being there, and we have an all-inclusive lodge. It's like a family style. So you get in, you fly in to Kodiak, which is already like just an insane. It's like Hawaii, but winter.
Different culture.
Yeah, it's completely different. There's a lot. It's true Alaska, but it's not your average Alaska. It looks different. It's green. It's beautiful. And bringing people, when you fly in, you get on the lake with Dave, you fly out of the bush plane, which is awesome. Dave's an amazing pilot.
So he's the lodge owner and the pilot?
Yeah, lodge owner and the pilot, generational bush pilot, cool. Amazing dude.
Yeah.
There's nobody I would trust more in a plane than Dave.
Yeah.
And then, you're flying into the lodge, you get out, the guides, everybody that works with me are very welcoming. It's a family. We're all a family there, and that's why I would say I love Saltery, is because you get that family aspect where you sit down and eat meals together. Alana is one of the best cooks I've ever met. I've grown up in the South, Southern cook. Grandma's an amazing cook. She is right there with her, and I don't say that about many people. It's like
fighting words.
It's good, dude. It's good.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Alaska is definitely probably the coolest place I've been to freshwater wise.
Yeah. Have you done much elsewhere freshwater wise?
Yeah, no. No, I haven't really.
There's a lot of places out there.
I haven't been out west. Never,
really?
Ever.
Oh man.
I've been out west very young.
Yeah.
But never fished hard out west.
Yeah.
Which I will change.
Yeah.
But
dude, I haven't fished out west nearly as much as I should.
Yeah.
Like I think I've been 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
First time I went, I didn't fish at all. And last time I was out there, I was with Ben, and we fished the Missouri out of Craig, Montana, and it was like late February, early March, and I've never been so cold while fishing in my entire life, and we smoked them.
Yeah.
Like catching fish when it's that cold, that was a wild experience.
Dude, it's so fun.
Like knocking ice out of the guides and stuff, and I just don't do well in the cold, but
me neither, dude.
Dude, that's why I'm down here now. You were talking about how you got involved with Winston.
Oh, yeah. I met Adam and Cole when Cole was still with Winston through the Keys. When I was down there, they were just developing their new saltwater rod, and they got a lot of complaints about being too soft, or it just didn't have any power, or this or that, couldn't throw into the wind. Everybody's building a really fast stick now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's building a fast stick. Winston's got the boron. They've got an extremely good action with their new Air 2 Max. It is way different than their last rods. It's a little bit faster, but it's got power, and that's what they really need. My casting stroke is a lot slower than a lot of people that are using faster rods. There's, I don't think it's a lot of the fly fishing industry right now, actually, I feel like is casting the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're really wanting to throw into the wind, talk to any of those guides or any of the dudes who are actually really good casters,
Yeah.
you're loading that rod correctly, you're keeping everything straight and exponentially right down the rod.
Yeah.
Having something with power is going to be exponentially better.
That can unload for
Yeah.
you rather than just muscling through
Exactly.
wind with a fast action. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's all line speed at the end of the day. It's not how much how much bend the rod has or how fast the rod is. It's how that rod can develop the line. You're always casting the line.
Right.
So if that rod with your cast can develop the line in a good loop with line speed, it's going to beat it every single day.
Right.
You know?
It's funny though, because like when I grew up in New York, when we were striper fishing with like the big, 12-inch Menhaden flies, like big hollow ties and like heavy shooting heads, some of the best like rod selections a lot of the times were like short, like 7.5 foot, like hyper fast action, like a spinning rod, and I feel like there's probably an argument to be made for like those really big shooting heads and like big flies, but like for redfish, anything like you're not throwing like a giant, you don't need to turn over like a super heavy fly or like a big shooting head or anything. I think like a lot of those like slightly slower action rods have like they're built to have the power to help you turn it over, so you don't have to work as hard.
Yeah,
and you can cast longer fish a longer day. Do you also run the Bauer reels as well?
Yeah. They just came out with the SLT, which it's a carbon drag system. It's stacked.
Winston is playing a small piece in the hosted trip you're running down to Punta Allen.
Yeah.
So are they going to supply people with gear for that trip?
So I'm actually through me. So I've got the gear. I'm going to be bringing my Winston stuff down that way. I suggest, I have guys who are bringing their own stuff as well, but I'm going to have Winston gear for the people that need it.
Yeah.
And I really hope to put it in the hands of people that have other rods and compare it.
Right.
Because I feel confident in being able to, I have clients get on my boat all the time and they have the new Asquith or they have, the new Hardy, and I'm like, do you want to try the Winston or do you want to fish your stuff? And they're like, I'll fish mine for a little bit.
Yeah.
They'll fish it. In a little while, they look at the Winston, they're like, all right, I want to try that, Yeah. I've had a lot of people pick it up and cast it and be like, dude, I need one of these.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, it's not, being able to have a rod that's like exponentially better, like, so much better than one rod, that you're not going to get that.
Right.
But like being able to fit your casting style and have power and being able to be comfortable with a rod as a client is so important. And I find a lot of my clients are comfortable with Winstons.
Yeah.
So.
How many times have you been down to Punta Allen?
This will be my second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Last time you were there, what were some of the highlights for you?
Dude, the guides.
Yeah.
I think that was like where I was like, holy cow, these dudes work hard.
Yeah.
And Juanitos, who is the guy that we were able to fish with a good bit, he's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen somebody who can spot permanent like that.
That's crazy.
And just the dude is literally connected to that fishery, knows it very, very well.
Yeah.
We ended up grand slamming 2 days, caught countless permit. The tarpon there, man, it's like, it's so different. Being able to put a fly this big and just slap it in front of a tarpon and strip it once, and he's like, I'm like, dude, all right.
That's sick. How many guides do they have on staff there?
Don't quote me on that. I think it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact number.
Do they fish out of pangas or do they kind of do the wading?
Yeah, it's panga.
Yeah. So they're pulling the panga.
Yep, everything's pulling panga. It's a lot of deep water. You're not fishing your average tailing permit. There's a lot of floating permit down that way, which is really cool because they're almost like GTs. They're like eating shrimp out of the sargassum and running up down the lines, and you're throwing shrimp patterns and stripping super fast. And yeah, it's super cool.
And it seems like the lodge is in a really just like great spot for convenience, but also like just a beautiful setting. It's in the middle of like a national park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Ascension Bay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything around there is just insane, man.
Yeah.
It's unpressured. It's very cool, and the people there just really care about that fishery.
Yeah. What do you see yourself as playing like a different role or being a different piece of the puzzle on these hosted trips versus like just taking clients out day to day?
Yeah, I want to jump around. So like we're doing double boats when we're down there. I'm not having anybody single because first of all, going there, when I fished there, I realized I was like, dude, there's no way I could stand on that panga for 5 days straight and fish. And I think being able to take turns and give a rest and you know, even if you're on that boat and somebody else catches a fish, like it's just as exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think my part in it would be able to go out there and work on people's casting, being able to be there to support them while they're fishing. I'm also going to be having the camera. So
Right.
I'll take the camera around, get really good shots of everybody. And yeah, I'm going to be bouncing around.
Yeah, I heard something also mentioned about some Mayan ruins that are like near it.
Yeah,
I might be
Tulum.
wrong, near Tulum.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story with that?
Dude, it's the old like native grounds, man. It's a temple. It's right on the beach. It's like one of the most beautiful things ever. Like it's insane. So we're gonna go there after we get done, a few of us, and go visit the Mayan ruins. It's like the native spot pretty much. And there's cenotes too. So a cenote is like where when the ocean water came down, when the ocean water fell and they had rain, it actually created an acid effect and created these huge like boulders of like where fresh water has been captured.
Yeah.
And there's like badass caves
Yeah.
that you can jump into and stuff. So
Do you dive?
yeah, I free dive a good bit.
Yeah. Have you done it there?
Yeah.
It's mostly people are just focused on the fishing.
No, dude, it's cool. I think it's a good thing to kind of decompress. You know, you look forward to it at the end of the week. Fishing, you know how fishing is. It's like, dude, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like that fishery it's hard if, you know.
Well, you're out there on a mission too. I mean, you're in one of the best places to catch the slam.
Yeah.
In probably the world, right? Like highest probability at it getting good shots at all three.
Yeah.
Do they have snook there too?
They do have snook.
Yeah.
And it's a sleeper snook fishery.
Big ones?
Oh, big snook.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
Sick.
cool, dude.
That's awesome.
And Tiziano is the owner. Super cool dude. He's actually the one who put the big permit statue in Punta Allen.
Oh, cool.
So, and the lodge, so Tiziano's been with Winston for a long time. Had, you know, when we showed up, he had an old Winston, like one of the old Winston PFGs on, and it's a Winston preferred lodge, and they really love the rods. They, you know, Adam and I, when we went down there, we were like, dude, this is a really good place.
Yeah. What kind of advice are you giving people who are coming on to join you on that trip? Like if they, you know, maybe they're not necessarily new to saltwater fishing, but maybe they've redfished or done some fishing in Florida, maybe striper fishing, like trying to like set out with the goal of catching a permit. Are there any specific tips you're giving folks who are joining?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cast. Work on your casting, work on your casting, work on your casting. Go out on whatever you can do. Go out in the water in your daggum canoe, or, I mean, not even that. Just getting out on the water or a park and casting into 20-mile-per-hour wind.
Yeah.
And seeing what your casts look like.
Wind's a factor there.
Yeah. You're gonna have wind, and you're not gonna have perfect days. Most of the time, honestly, when you're permit fishing, as you know, a lot of people know, wind, you gotta kind of have it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're fishing a dead still day, you might not have the best luck.
Right.
So being able to be comfortable with wind, a side wind pushing, you know, if you got permit at your 11 o'clock and the wind is coming from your right side, you got to be able to have a fly out here and put a fly down on that school.
I've heard guides in like Belize talk about it this way too, and you kind of mentioned it before. Like, you're almost fishing to them like they're a jack, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they're a little snappier than some of like the permit that are in the Keys and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd imagine you're gonna just up your chances if you can get some good practice in.
Yeah.
On the casting front in the wind.
That's pretty much everything. Like everything else, I mean, being able to see fish, Juanitos, other guides, they're gonna be able to spot those fish for you. They're gonna be able to, like, that's the thing about Punta Allen too, is you're gonna have guys out there with you when you're fishing, 2 dudes, and you're gonna have somebody on the front and the back. You're gonna have somebody pulling and somebody up there helping you manage line, first of all, and second of all, spotting the fish and being able to put the fly down where it needs to be. And they're very good at telling you where you need to be. So, especially with permit fishing, that's a huge deal.
Are you fishing areas that it's kind of a mixture? Like you've got tarpon, permit, bones all kind of in the same area, or are you kind of bopping around to different types of stuff?
So there's one instance where we were in a pool and we're casting at permit that were floating, and Juanitos was screaming about a tarpon that he saw, and we grabbed the rod, stripped it out real quick, and that's when I was like, dude, Adam stripped it out, got just enough to be able to cast it, flipped it over like that, stripped it one time, and the tarpon ate at the boat. So yeah, there are definitely both around. You know, the bonefish are more like, those guys have bonefish so dialed. It's almost instant. So that's going to be more waiting too. You know, you're going to be waiting to those bonefish on the bars, but you know, that's going to be different than your permit and your tarpon. But as far as the permit and tarpon fishery there, they're kind of simultaneous.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you. I know you and I are both, we prefer to be behind the cameras, so I appreciate you answering the questions.
I don't like talking to cameras.
It was good to talk. If people are interested in learning more about some of the hosted trips that you're doing, like the trip to Punta Allen and the trip to Sultry next year, or if people just want to try and get out with you around Charleston, what's the best place to get in touch with you?
Dude, I would say go to Any Creek and look at some of the things that you guys have built. The Alaska and the Mexico trip have all the details, everything you need to bring, the pricing, pretty much everything you need to know. So if you go there, that's where I'd be going.
Sweet. Alrighty. Well, thank you.